let's go back out to Capitol Hill because there was fireworks going on earlier today. Senators grilling RFK Jr. on the CDC shakeup and vaccines. This is Connor Hansen with the latest.
Sir, you're a charlatan.
HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was grilled on Capitol Hill by senators on both sides of the aisle.
I would say effectively we're denying people vaccine.
Senator Cantwell.
You're wrong.
He defended firing the head of the CDC and other top scientists, which critics see as a sign of chaos at the agency.
We are the sickest country in the world. That's why we have to fire people at CDC. They did not do their job. This was their job to keep us healthy.
Secretary Kennedy also claimed former officials had conflicts of interest, political agendas, and failed Americans during the COVID-19 pandemic.
You're the Secretary of Health and Human Services. You don't have any idea how many Americans died from COVID?
I don't think anybody knows.
Kennedy faced hours of tense questioning over COVID deaths and the rise of measles.
How am I a threat?
Secretary Kennedy, for the first time, we're seeing deaths from children from measles. We haven't seen that in 2 decades. We're seeing that under your watch.
RFK Jr. was also pressed on his stance on who can or should receive the COVID-19 vaccine. The FDA only approved the latest version for people 65 and older and younger people with underlying conditions.
You promised that you would not take away vaccines from anyone who wanted them. You just changed the classification of the COVID vaccine.
I'm not taking them away from people, Senator.
It takes it away if you can't get it from your pharmacist.
More than 1,000 former and current HHS employees have called for Kennedy to resign. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
All right, Connor, thanks so much for that. We appreciate it. We are going to continue to talk about this now. I want to bring in our next guest to help break it all down. She was in the room there. Carmen Paun, the global health reporter with Politico. Thanks so much for being here. And first off, Carmen, set the scene for us a little bit. Was it as tense inside as it sounded?
Thank you for having me, Mike. Yes, it was. There were raised voices many times in the exchanges with the Democrats. People were yelling at each other. Secretary Kennedy was going after many of the Democratic senators, accusing them of presiding over rising chronic diseases in the United States and doing nothing about it. And, accusing some of them of taking money from the pharmaceutical companies and saying that what the pharmaceutical companies are saying is the science on vaccine and safety is what they're saying is mainstream science. So definitely a very tense hearing. And there were about 3 hours. It didn't feel like 3 hours. It was quite dramatic at times.
Yeah, no, I bet not. I bet it was going fast there for you inside. Carmen, I mean, this was a unique spot because so many times with hearings, it pretty much goes on partisan lines. When there is the Republican majority, you get the easier questions on the Republican side, and then the Democrats a little bit harder going after. But this time, I mean, we saw Democrats and Republicans going after RFK.
Indeed, we had 3 Republican senators questioning the health secretary really hardly. We had Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, who asked him if he thinks that President Trump's Operation Warp Speed, which, as you may remember, is the effort to bring vaccines to market in the COVID pandemic, which happened in less than a year since the pandemic started, whether that makes the president, worthy of the Nobel Peace Prize. And Secretary Kennedy said, It did, but he has also criticized vaccine, and he has also claimed that COVID-19 vaccines have also caused harm. We had Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming, who's obviously the number 2 Senate Republican, who said he was concerned about everything that was happening on vaccines, about the changing recommendation and the confusion that this may cause. And we had Senator Tom Tillis, who also said at the end, after all of this exchange, I still don't fully understand why your position is an Operation Warp Speed, whether it was a good thing or a bad thing.
Now, Carmen, what is next? Does anything really come from this hearing and for RFK Jr.? What does that look like?
It's really hard to tell. We saw administration officials defending him. We saw, obviously, Vice President J.D. Vance, who defended RFK and attacked the Democrats, saying that they were the ones supporting care for transgender kids. He said this is treatment that is mutilating kids without any evidence that is safe and effective. And we had White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt also putting out an ex post in support of RFK Jr. The big question is whether the vaccine policies that the health secretary has promoted so far and whatever comes next are going to become a liability for some Republicans, at least in the midterms, whether people who feel that they cannot get the COVID vaccine in this case, but maybe in the future other vaccines as easily as they used to, whether they want to punish Republicans at the ballot boxes next year. So I think that's the big question. Whether it has any immediate consequences for the health secretary, I think that's hard to tell, and probably time will tell.
Yeah, really will. And you mentioned there with the midterms coming up, do you think we'll see added pressure maybe from healthcare advocates around the time of the midterms, maybe a couple of months before in these lawmakers' areas?
It's very possible. I mean, we're still a year away from that, and so many things can happen in a year. It's unclear how much a year from now this will be a topic, or it'll be maybe bigger than now. Very hard to tell. But for sure, this will be an issue that many health advocates will probably try to press Republican lawmakers on, those that are up for re-election. And we've seen already so many calls from different public health organizations, from some employees at the HHS, current and former, asking for the health secretary's resignation. We saw the Democratic members of the Senate Finance Committee today also putting out a statement just before the hearing started, asking for his resignation. At the same time, it looks like the president and the White House are still very much behind the health secretary. So it's hard to tell how things are going to evolve in a year from now.
Yeah, definitely. In this administration, you just don't know what's going to happen next. No doubt about it. Carmen,
every day is a new adventure. So
yes, it is. Carmen, thanks so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox. Great to talk with you on this.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. All right, everyone. We want to, before we go to a break, I do want to show you just a little bit more of this back and forth that we saw. Let's show you RFK Jr. and Senator Ron Wyden really batting it out. Let's listen in.
And this chronic disease. We are the sickest country in the world. That's why we have to fire people at CDC. They did not do their job. This was their job to keep us healthy.
Thank you,
and I need to fire some of those people to make sure this doesn't happen again.
My first question, Mr. Secretary, is did you, in fact, do what Director Monarez said you did, which is tell her to just go along with vaccine recommendations, even if she didn't think such recommendations aligned with scientific evidence?
No, I did not.
That's a yes or no. So you have an opportunity to call her a liar if you say that you didn't do it, but I'd like to see you respond to this.
No, I did not say that to her. And I never had a private meeting with her. So there are witnesses to every meeting that we have, and all of those witnesses will say, I never said that.
So she's lying today to the American people in the Wall Street Journal?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And now the American Academy of Pediatrics has warned that the committee is being politicized at the expense of children's health. American Academy of Pediatrics, you think they're lying too?
I think the American Academy of Pediatrics is gravely conflicted. They get their biggest contributors are the 4 largest vaccine makers. They run a journal, Pediatrics, which they make a lot of money on, that is completely dependent on pharmaceutical companies. So I wouldn't put a big stake in what they say that benefits pharmaceutical interests. Senator, I didn't politicize ACIP. I depoliticize it. The Congress has been investigating ACIP.
All over the country, Mr. Secretary, scientists and doctors are saying otherwise. They're all wrong, too. They're all lying, according to you.
The scientists and doctors that are supporting me all over the country.